Good morning. You are chosen by God. You are chosen by God. The problem is most people don't believe that or live in that reality. Garrison Keillor writes a reminiscence where he talks about the pain of being chosen last in childhood. You remember those days? Remember how that worked? The captains are picking teams for the baseball team, and it gets down to the last couple of kids, and they're looking for a slow kid who can be a catcher because he can't run real fast, or they're looking for someone who can just stand out in right field because no one hits a ball there anyways. And then it gets down to the last couple of kids, and it's like dealing with the excess and with scrubs, because they say something like, well, if I take him, then you have to take her. And he goes on to say, I've usually never been taken higher than 6, and usually lower. But what I would like is if just for once, one time, if Darrell, that athletic kid, if Darrell, that captain of the team, would point at me and say, I want him. I choose him. I choose you. Come on over here and be on my team. But he says, usually I'm never chosen. And I've not been chosen with much enthusiasm. And I think about that in our life with God. We wonder sometimes, would God pick us first? Would God pick us last? But there's an amazing verse in John 15:16 that says, Jesus is talking to his disciples, and he says, you did not choose me. I chose you. And the disciples, as we know, they were stumbling and bumbling, just like me and just like you. And they maybe thought that they chose Jesus, but he comes back and says, you did not choose me. I chose you. That we are so valuable to God that he chooses us first with enthusiasm. And if you've ever doubted that, just look at Ephesians chapter 1, verse 4, that says, God chose us in him before the world even began, before the foundation of the world, that we would be holy and blameless in his sight. Not seeing us as sinful and unworthy, but as holy and blameless. So again, how valuable we are to God that he would choose us first with enthusiasm. I used to say to my kids, and I maybe haven't said it to them recently when they were little, but I'll say it to them now. So Zach, if all the 22-year-old kids were lined up in a row and I could choose one, guess who I would pick? I'd choose you. Nicole, if all the 19-year-olds were lined up and I could choose anyone, guess who I would pick? I'd choose you. And Lucas, if all the 14-year-olds were lined up in a line and I could choose anyone, guess who I would choose? I'd choose you. And I won't even get into talking about my relationship with my wife. Janine, I chose you, but thank you. Thank you for choosing me. It still leaves me speechless and in wonder. So, there you go. There's a simple Sunday sermon, and I got a love letter in there to boot. So, I hope in your meditation or your contemplation, in your quiet time, in your devotions this week, that you would reflect on the fact that you are chosen by God. Until next time, there she is down there somewhere. Until next time, may you live all the days of your life.